think that's more of a high. When you take a personal jab at someone, that's a hi-oh.
Ho, ho, ho.
Anyways, go on. What else?
Olympian Lolo Jones says it's unchristian to see 50 Shades of Grey.
Right, not due to the premarital sex. God just really hates two-dimensional characters and weak plot lines. You know how 50 Shades of Grey came to be? You know what 50 Shades of Grey started out as? 50 Shades of Grey started out as a piece of Twilight fan fiction. It's true. Like, the original characters were, I don't know, Bella and some teenage vampire. It was basically like, oh, God, I really wish the vampire and the girl in Twilight would do it eventually. And no one's writing that. I'll write it for myself. And that's why we have 50 Shades of Grey. It's just another awful thing that has been wrought by Twilight. What else is going on in the world?
Yesterday was Ash Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. The day before that was Fat Tuesday, or as people in Clooney Soda call it, Tuesday.
Clooney Soda.
I was relieved when I found out yesterday was Ash Wednesday. Only because I went home from work thinking everybody at the office played paintball and didn't invite me.
Don't be
the
one that cleans that off. Like, oh, you got a little smudge on you. Let me just get that.
I've almost done that before. Because, like, when growing up in England, I mean, there's Catholics in England. The main church in England, and this leads nicely into our story of how televangelists justify the fact that God wants them to be rich, filthy rich. I tell you, rich. The main church in England was C of E, Church of England, which was a church, in case you did not know, that was started by Henry VIII back in the day. He used to be Catholic. He wanted to bang other women. The Pope wouldn't let him get a divorce, so he's like, F you, I'm starting my own church. And, yeah, the predominant church sect of Christianity in England comes directly from the fact that Henry VIII wanted to bang other women and the Pope wouldn't let him. But they don't observe Catholic traditions like Ash Wednesday. So when I first came to America in New York, where there's lots and lots of Catholics, and saw people with smudges on their head, I was like, what's going on around here? And I saw one person, and I almost looked, hey, you got a little thing there. I almost did that. I was on the subway, and I thought I was being, neighborly. I thought it was a Christian thing to do to let someone not go through the day with some sort of mark on their forehead. And then I saw like 20 other people with it. I was like, ooh, this must be something I'm not aware of. I'm glad that saved me that. What else?
Well, happy Chinese New Year.
Yeah, it's the year of the goat. So, remember to stop writing Year of the Horse on your checks.
Starting from here, my head is where I feel numb. From the front of my neck to the base of my skull. Feeling back by the way my mind is working. Like that, my emotion, the controls always shaking. Soon there will be nothing left at all. My mind is like an empty hole. I want to be calm for help, but all my friends are like a pressure valve. And what I need is salvation and a little bit of patience. Oh, with all the love I have, I'm still alone. Something I would never wish upon anyone. There's feeling something I would never wish upon anyone. Understated side with the feelings that are associated with the sad life that I'm bringing. The tears and the singing. Being alive isn't a gift when there's so much you have missed. And so little ring true with the words to you by the people you trusted. When it all came down to choosing your ideals, developing your fears. Why sports out it was better black light. Oh, with all the love I
covering fascinating subjects, interesting talk, and boobs and fart jokes. AD on iHeartRadio.
Yeah, oh, let's go. Talking that mess, better act like you know. Oh, let's go tonight. Walk away, punk, yeah, bitch. That's right, I know this. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. So walk away, yeah, yeah. You've been talking about me for
Funkhauser. I have so much fun doing this that sometimes I lose track. Is this the last segment of our show today?
Yeah, number 4.
Okay, let's for a second talk about money and religion and how never the twain should meet, but they seem to be meeting on a regular basis. Yesterday we talked about... That wasn't even a joke. I guess I'm just, hilarious without even trying to be. Yeah, that's why this show is listened to by loyal tens of followers. That was funny. Tens of followers? Thank you very much. I'm trying to decide whether or not the rim shot makes it into tomorrow's show. Again, it was one of those things that sounded better in my head. Anyways, yesterday we talked about Pat Robertson. I don't know if you caught it or not, but Pat Robertson continues to double down on crazy. His last message, his most recent message, well, he had a couple that were kind of interesting. One, he said that if you recycle, if you're trying to do your bit to be kind to Mother Earth, then you are in league with Satan and you want to destroy America. The environmentalist agenda is in line with Obama's agenda, and we all know Obama's in league with the devil, according to Uncle Pat. The other thing he said is that you shouldn't post pictures of your kids on Facebook because covens of witches can curse you. Demons and witches can curse you through your Facebook page. This guy is freaking loaded. Loaded, I tell you, loaded. And I think he's not as crazy as a lot of the stuff he talks about, but he wants to appeal to crazy people because crazy people are a little more loosey-goosey with the old checkbook. And, man, there's just so much money wrapped up in church. At first, back in the day, it was tithing. It was passing the collection plate. It was sending money to televangelist ministries. And that's still an awfully big part of it. But now I think church folk have seen that, oh my God, the self-help section of every library and bookstore is huge. And what are these books and what are these self-help books selling? An amazing life, which includes having an ass ton of money. Money is such a stressful thing for most people. And they're selling the dream of not having to worry about it. And I think church folk, people that run religious institutions, were like, oh, we got to get in on some of that. And so now you come across this thing over and over again called prosperity gospels. It's a really common thing within the church nowadays, different churches, to hear preachers making references to promises, well, supposed promises, I suppose, in the Bible that, well, they promise believers financial and economic prosperity. Statements like, God doesn't want us to live in poverty. And God promises to bless you economically if you honor him, and so on. Basically, giving the impressions that churchgoers should believe for and seek material, financial, economic prosperity on this earth. The impression is given a lot, which ultimately makes people think God wants me to have more money. And so believers start praying, asking God for more financial prosperity. Mansions, nice cars, Porsches, increased economic status in this world. But does God really promise to give all Christians in the New Testament economic abundance and prosperity? Does the Lord really want us to not be satisfied if we're living in poverty, or worse, the middle class? If that is his plan for us? Does God really want us to be driven by seeking material things? It's a little far out there, but it's a great way to get people into your church and a great way to get people to dig deep when they pass a collection plate going, this will come back to me, and I'm coming to church to make some cash. And if you've been listening to the show for a little while, you might have heard me tell this story before, but I had a very formative experience when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. When I was a kid, my grandpa, he took me to church. like I said, around 4 or 5 years old. I loved hanging out with my grandpa. Always. Because, well, he was a sweet old guy. He talked like the people on the old-timey Stan Freberg radio recordings that I used to enjoy listening to. He had that sort of like old-timey sense of humor. I remember once I heard him describe another man as a handsome rascal. He was like, hey, look at that handsome rascal over there. But he gets all the ladies. And I was like, handsome rascal. That's funny. You're funny, Grandpa. I loved hanging out with Grandpa. Also, whenever I hung out with Grandpa, it was pretty much a given that there would be cookies and there would be ice cream. One day when we were hanging out, he took me to church. And I got to see the preacher at this church, a guy who I really liked and remember, Father Phil. I got to see Father Phil give a sermon. I was like 4 or 5, so the details are a little hazy. But I've always really liked churches. I've never really been a religious guy, per se. At least I'm not right now. My parents were Buddhists when I was growing up, and that was a religion that was in the house, and it didn't work for me moving forward. So, yeah, I don't know. I've never been really religious, but I'm always kind of spiritually searching. I think there's tremendous value in religion and spirituality. I'm willing to be struck by something. I'm open and available if the lightning bolt wants to come around. But even as a 4 or 5-year-old, and now today, too, I noticed something when I walked into a church. You know when you walk into a nice library, it's that same feeling. Or it's the same feeling when I took a walk around the grounds of an old Ivy League college not so long ago. Maybe you're religious, maybe you're not. But churches tend to be places of thought, of learning, of respect, of reverence. And you ever go into a church and realize that it's almost like the air in there is different? It moves at a different speed. Or like the silence inside a church sounds different than the silence that you hear outside of it. So I was totally into going to church with Grandpa. And I remember as a kid listening to the sermon that old Father Phil was apparently given. And he was on his A game that day, throwing the heat of the gospel. And at some stage, there's some talk of bringing people to God, bringing people to the church, growing the flock, that specific church. Growing the congregation, growing the church, growing the flock, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I remember I got crackers and grape juice every morning for snack in grade school. And it was kind of an ongoing question in my mind how when I got crackers and grape juice in church, it was the body and blood of Christ. So I was a little perturbed by that. But an hour before recess, not so much. I could totally buy into it. And I was wondering if the crackers and grape juice are the body and blood of God's Son. How come they're not labeled that way when I go with my mom to the grocery store? Anyways, we are snacking on the body and blood of God's Son. And afterwards, out comes the collection plate. And I see everybody giving money. I want to fit in. I want to be a big boy. I want to do what the grown-ups are doing. So I dig in my pocket and I get out my 50 cents or my $1 or whatever. And I put it on the collection plate. My grandfather starts to tell me that I don't have to. But I insist, and he's thrilled. And I'm thrilled, too, because when you're 4 or 5 years old and your grandpa's really proud of you, that's cool. You like that. So after church, we're in the car and on our way to Friendly's Ice Cream. You ever been to one of those? I think they're more or less a Northeastern thing. And the food, yeah, not very good. But the ice cream, oh, man. Like, if you ever see one of them, just go in, get yourself this thing they call a Fribble. It's this enormous, super thick milkshake. It comes in one of those old school metal tumblers, and it's just freaking incredible. Anyways, we're at Friendly's. I'm trying to make up my mind between the Fribble or the Super Sundae, but I'm a little distracted because my grandpa is talking to me saying what a nice thing it was to have made a donation to the collection plate and how that sort of thing has a way of coming back to you. And I remember asking him, Grandpa, you like that church, right? That's your church. You like it. And he was like, oh, yeah, of course. Been going there for years, and I love what Father Phil talks about. And I was like, well, do you want it to change? And he was like, no, I don't want it to change.